Hi guys, it's Blackie. Okay, it's Thursday night. Time for another live. Hope y'all are having a good time. We've been having a little bit of rain. I'm all look at me how dirty I am. Been doing projects. I'm working on the redneck camper. Keep all three. Good evening to Oklahoma. Um, I've got my uh, redneck camper, and what I've started doing is little projects. Well, for the first time since uh, 1992, you can lock the back of it. We got robbed on a trip back then. Someone broke the lock, and it's never worked since. And so I got on Amazon and found out, holy cow, that's all I got to do to replace one. Well, so I've been doing little projects. Craig, good evening. Gary Graham, hello. Justin, good evening, brother. Jeff, hello to Newfoundland, Canada. Herbert, hello to North Carolina. You know, we got a hurricane. We may have a hurricane next week. So I hope it looks like it'll come up the East Coast if it does. Kyle Tipper, good evening. Randy, good evening. Mopar, good evening. Richard, hello there. 2020, good evening. Dan Davis, good evening. Andy Knight, hello to South Georgia. Gary, glad you enjoyed my recent video. Kodak, good evening. Gearboy Forge, hello there. Excuse me. Humidity. We're like it. 82% humidity and all that stuff's coming loose in your lungs. You get out there, start breathing, you know, old fart, kennel cough, you know. Jonathan Frisbee's Fearless Journey. Hello, brother. Hope you're doing well. AJ, hello to Northern Nevada. Oh, cool. Welcome to the party. First time here. Backyard Beasley, hello to Georgia. Oh, yeah, Peter, I knew about the map gas you can swap when you got to. Twister, hello there. Gary Graham. The honor's mine, brother. That just happy that y'all want to spend time with me. Really, really is an honor for me. James Singer, hello to everybody. Anthony Grimes, good evening. Mountain Woods Runner, hello there. Patriot Preacher, hello to Appalachian, Ohio. Jonathan Frisbee, you got pneumonia, brother. I'm sorry. I know how that makes you feel. It's like you just can't seem to get a good breath. Chris, good evening. Oh, cool. Chris, you started sailing. That's awesome. When I was a young man, I read a short story. I'm talking about like second or third grade, called The Mud Hen. And it was about a young boy that was going around a marshy area, and he found what was essentially a big rowboat that had been abandoned. And he salvaged it and put a sail on it and taught himself to sail. And it was a great adventure story. So as a young man, I thought that I wanted to get me a sailboat. But there ain't many calls for a sailboat in the swamps of Alabama. So swamps and rivers and creeks, sailboats ain't a great idea. So it didn't work out. But I got into canoeing instead. William Moffat, doing well. Thanks for asking. Oh, Gary, you going for your ham radio license test? Good for you. Good luck to you. Doug, hello to Southern Illinois. Paladin, hello to Northeast Florida. Common Sense Karen, hello there. Oh, it's going to break loose sooner or later. You just watch. It's going you know, when you get old, you'll actually go take a shower to get there and breathe that steam and break everything up so you can cough and get it out. I know, gross, but trust me, when you get old, there's a lot of things. When you're young, it's wine, women, and song. When you're old, it's what medications are you on? you know. Oh, yes. It's late in the day and the hair is gray. Oh, well. Oh, yeah, the old Grumman canoes. Yeah, aluminum for the river. I haven't owned a Grumman. I've had several boats in my life. I've had John boats, aluminum canoes, fiberglass canoes, Coleman canoes, all kinds of different boats. Wooden. I had a couple of wooden, but I built a wooden one time. Super cheap. We went and got cedar boards and ripped them on a bandsaw and then had a wood frame, nailed it all on it, painted the snot out of it with epoxy paint. While it was still wet, put the canvas on it, pulled it down tight, and then once it dried in place, painted the outside of it, and then put the gunners. I had it 3/4 way done and had taken it to the lake to try it out. And while I was trying it out, this guy just had to have it, bought it off of me. And he kept throwing money that I couldn't say no to. So only got to take one test run with it, and that was it. And I'm too old now to build another one. John Loudermilk, hello, brother. Glad you're here. Say hello to your wife for me. Tim Funk, hello to East Berlin, Pennsylvania. That fracking cat, awesome. Welcome to the crew. Welcome to the party. Jesse, good evening. Will, hello to South Carolina. We might have a hurricane coming up the coast over there, so if it is, y'all keep your eyes open. Andrew Kelso, I'm sorry, doing pretty well. If I scoot about that much closer, even better. Focuses a little bit better for me. Oh yeah, the old aluminum 70-pounders. Jonathan Grouch had a cargo canoe that was 21 feet and was a heavy cargo canoe. And I believe that canoe was like 90 pounds, awful close to it. And yeah, I had to unass that sucker up about a 10-foot vertical wall of mud to pull it out of the delta one time, where I had to climb up a tree that had fallen in, hooking the ropes, then manhandle that canoe by just rope up, and then pull mine up. So yeah, that portage just sucks for those. Christopher Evans, hello there. William Moffat, absolutely. Whiskey and some lemon juice will do a lot of good for it. That does, and add a little bit of brown sugar to it. It does a great job. Makes it a little thick and it coats a little better. But I'm talking, y'all. It would be rude for me to take libation while talking to y'all when y'all wasn't taking libation at the same time. So therefore. Hey, now, Chris, Piros can be very useful even in our rivers up here. We used to make these, what we call them, Choctahatchee boats, which was two pieces of marine grade plywood, and you cut and made a little banana boat like canoe. It was a shallow little Piro like, and they'd stack them one inside the other, and put them in the back of a pickup truck, and then that truck could be towing a trailer with a John boat in it, and everybody put their ice chests and everything in the John boat, and you get up there and they'd sit off the boats and they'd go floating, kind of like you'd sit in a kayak and fish. And the guy in the John boat, we pulling up the rear. When you got a lot of fish, you pull back there and load it up your ice chest and things like that. But we called them Choctahatchee boats, but it was basically a Piro. Kitty Howell, hello to Mineral Wells, Texas. Will, can you recommend a canoe for a big guy like 6'4", 300 pounds? One of the full-size Colemans will do it. They are 700-pound carrying capacity, and they're fairly stable. The 17-footers usually were because they're almost flat bottom. They got a keel on it, but that gives you a lot of suction. So side to side, and you can see, if you go look online, they show you where you make this frame out of 2x2s that will anchor to it, and you put 2 Coleman ice chests on the outside to act like riggers, and you can stand up on the side. You can't turn over. And so it's super stable. And I have recommended that to several people that want to get into it, but we're kind of afraid of tipping over. I'd say rig it up like this. You can stand on the side. It ain't going to flip. It might as well be a bass boat. I hear you, Tim. A Cat 390, 930, excuse me. What is a 22 rifle for everyday survival and cheap? Still trying to get back what I had in my divorce. Well, if I was going to pick something, I would look around my used guns and stuff like that, and you want to look for either a Marlin Model 59. They came both clip fed and they came tube fed. I would recommend the tube fed. And there's very little that can go wrong with it. But when it does, Brownells used to sell the entire guts, where you just took out one screw and pulled it out and dropped in a new and put it back in, and that was it. You know, I did when I was doing smithing years ago. A lot of times I'd tell people that time it was like $45 for all new guts. You know, I'd clean up the bolt, make sure the firing pin was good in it, the lips good, and just drop in a whole new unit and be like a brand new gun. And so those, you can still find them floating around used, and they do really good for a World Go to Hell 22. Especially if you get the old ones that say on the barrel short, long, or long rifle. They'll feed anything. James P523, hello there. Twin Arrows Survival, good evening. Jerry D. Hart, good evening. Fishing Golf 2, good evening. Randy Benson, good evening. True, the Rossi 22 is a good one. James, hello there. Yeah, micro grooves and the Marlins were good as long as you didn't let them let up. And I remember picking up a Marlin with a 30-30 with the old micro groove in it. It had some accuracy issues. And when I really got a good light and looked, the barrel was leaded up bad. And the old guy that had it, he had been hand loading, and he cast his own bullets, and they weren't anything but just cast lead. They were oversized, where you had to lever hard to close the lever, and he had let it up to chamber something horrible, and he had let it up the lead. And so I spent probably a week getting all the lead out of it. But it was a very accurate gun once you got the crap out of it. I mean, I was running the bristle brushes up and down. It was just coming out shiny. It looked like it had little pieces of tinsel. And it was just flakes of lead coming out of the rifling. That thing was just leaded up. Of course, yeah, a 10, keep all three. 1022 is always a good choice. More expensive, though. I mean, those things, whoo. The price of some of the guns has just gone absolutely out of this world. I mean, I used to we were picking up used 1022s for about the $100 range. Not anymore. Used to pick up Smith & Wesson Model 10 police trade-in guns for like $100 flat. Not anymore. You know, it's amazing what the prices have got up to. And 30-30s. You know, when Winchester went out of business back in what, 2007, 2008, something like that, and they stopped making the 94s, became collector items. It used to, every fall you could walk into pawn shops, or actually scratch that. Every June, you could walk in the pawn shops and there'd be 10 30-30s sitting there. It's where guys would come in and trade them in to get money to take the girlfriend to the beach, or they got that concert she wants to go to. And so they'd come in and sell the rifle, and they would come in like the week before deer season, want to buy the rifle back, like it was a loaner or something. So I knew a lot of gun shops who just fill up in the summer and empty out about a week before season started. Yeah, Ruger Blackhawks are very hard to find. Christopher Evans, first rifle with no wide stock 1022 for $70. Yep. I remember when them things were selling new for like $100. So, Model 85, cool. Tim Pierce, no, actually, I did it by soaking the barrel in kerosene, and then I took the bore brushes and just went to running up and down. And then after that, after I'd done several good trips with that, then I put a wooden dowel in the end of it and went to tapping the wooden dowel through. It was just a grunt too thick. I took the dowel and soaked, leaving about that much of the dowel unsoaked, so it swelled up a little bit, and I tapped it through, and that kind of dug into the lead a little bit, and I got it all out of there between the brushes and the tapping that wooden dowel through. I finally got it back down to clean metal where I could clean it out, where I felt safe to shoot jacketed ammo in it and really clean it out. But it turned into a very accurate gun after a while. It was the first lever action I ever put a scope on. I mean, putting a scope on a lever action is like putting stained glass in an outhouse. It just don't go there, But this gun was so accurate that I felt, back in them days I was shooting long range anyway. I was shooting 600, 700, 800, 1,000 yards with iron sights, and so I thought, hey, in matches, I thought, hey, I had killed a deer at over 200 yards with iron sights. Maybe I can reach it on out yonder. Just see what the gun is really capable of. And so I went ahead and put me a Redfield on it, and was very impressed with the accuracy of it out to about 200 yards. Nobody ever complained about the performance of 30-30 on game. They complained about its trajectory because but shooting muzzle loaders, I was kind of used to lobbing it, so compared to my 30-06, it shot a whole lot, curve compared to that. But then I got into really good varmint cartridges. They really shot flat. You put it dead on at 150 yards and it's going to be there. You didn't have to worry about bullet drop. William Moffett, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, got to remember, guys, since all the war in Ukraine, the arms manufacturers are making war stuff and shipping it as fast as they can. And so 410, 270, like that, that's a low priority. We want to make that. And so they're running all in machines, but they're making cartridges to ship off for war. And so that's their money right now. They don't care about us. And so 410 and stuff like that, they just do it in box runs. They'll 1 month a year they'll run so much they'll quit and go back to making other stuff. And that's your choice. That's all it is. So it's just about impossible to find sometimes. North Carolina Piedmont Outdoors. Good evening. Gray Wolf. Yep, you're running late. We've been on for almost 20 minutes. Yeah, I can see you. Well, Justin, you're out there in wide open Texas. So, yeah. Y'all would put a scope on a toothbrush out there. Oh, yeah, Gray Wolf. I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah. I have heard of focused aperture sights that the only way I can describe it is they had a magnifying lens on behind it, so it was like a reader's, so that you could look through it and see clear. But hey, it's an idea. Why couldn't you? You know, I have heard of custom scopes being made to the prescription of the person. But at one time, Leopold would make them, but I think they started at $5,000. So you had to be serious to get a scope like that. Oh, cool, Jerry. Good. Looking for a scope for a 308. Cool. Andy Knight, I see you put a Davis on it. Davis makes good triggers. Back in my day of shooting muzzleloaders for target work, most people wanted Davis double set triggers. And I know they made them, used to be able to get them through Track of the Wolf, and you get them through Dixie. But you would get a single set, a double set, and a single double set to go on to Hawkins and different guns depending on the base plate on it, what you're getting to put it on. Will, you and Bear should do an autobiography video. Oh, no. No one would ever believe it. Just nah. Exactly. It meant to cheat. It looked like it was a non-trigger beat, and you push it forward and then go click, or it was a double set trigger. You pull in the back. But I've got a single set on my flintlock. You have to set the trigger to cock it. But it looks like just a regular old trigger, but you push it, you'll pull it, and it'll go click, and then you can cock the hammer. So it's basically the set trigger only. It is not the front trigger. Frank, well, thank you very much. I'm hanging in there. I'm doing pretty good. I know, Justin. I'm doing pretty good, Mitchell. Doing pretty good. Blocky San Diego. Y'all hang in there. Tom, good evening to you. Oh, yeah. Justin, the Brazos. That's pretty country in Texas, which Texas is big. I mean, you got real pretty country, you got hill country, you got desert flats, you got all of the above. You got river areas, you got things you wouldn't believe you were in Texas. So. Gray Wolf, yeah, we grew up before webcams. Most autobiographical content never happened. Yeah. Oh yeah. You imagine when they say, "I think I found a picture of your grandmother." Yeah. We destroyed the evidence in our day. Your boy Ford's unbelievable stories are some of the best. They let the imagination run. Oh yeah. Oh, I always just had a knack for being the one, or it could never happen. It happened to me, or no one could do that. Yeah, it's stuff. You know, had a stepbrother that decided to go into the river. He had a real tall 4-wheel drive. And he thought, of course, there was alcohol involved and a real pretty little strawberry blonde, that he could drive up the river. So he went down the boat landing into the river and turned upriver and went about 200 yards or so up the river. And that's where suddenly there's like a wall and it just drops off to like 20 foot deep. And so he got there in the front end, went boop, and of course, water got sucked in the carburetor. It was a Ford, and it no snorkel, it dead. Well, he thought he'd just get a wrecker to pull him out. No, I mean it's real high banks. There's no way to get to it, and the wrecker couldn't get in the water, and so there was no way to get to it. And a bass boat couldn't pull it. He tried several things. There wasn't a tractor they could get down there that could do it, you know. And so after quite a bit of back and forth, of course, I think I was like 12 at the time. He come up and he said, you know, I told him, I said, I can get it out there. And he didn't want to believe me. And I said, look, for this amount of money, I'll get it out of there. And it's like, of course, the stepmom was jumped down. If you know how to do it, you didn't tell me right now. No, what's up here costs money. It ain't what I'm going to do, it's what I know how to do. And so he finally relented and gave me the money. And what I did was I had this big old heavy canvas, and I had a big heavy rope in it. And we'd use it as a rope slide to go into a river before. And so I took it upriver, put it in the back of the pickup truck, tied the ropes to the back of the pickup truck, put it in neutral, and then pulled it out and pulled it up, and it acted like a sail, and the river went whop and went to pulling it. So steering it, it pulled it back to the landing, and then I collapsed it. So the river pulled it back to the landing because he went uphill, upstream. I got the money out of it. But I heard stories about that for some years about this crazy guy using a sail to drag a truck back. That was me. That was back in the 70s. So no one would ever believe it, you know. It just, our life has been that kind of stuff. Marvin, hello to West Virginia. Sanford Brown, hello there. Johnny, 3806, thanks for tuning in. Mark, hey Blackie, who makes the best ferro rods? To be honest, I just buy off of the thing. I know that SRO, the Pathfinder group, sell decent ones because they're using them in the school all the time. So they ain't going to sell one that ain't a really good one. And so I'd contact them because they pick through it. I don't know a name brand to tell you. I just buy, and I've only wore out like 2 in the last few years. So I don't buy them that often. I've just bought mine off Amazon. I've had 2 bad, and I've had 2 that were really, really good, and I've kept them. But that's where I'd say you just go to SRO because they're doing them for that school as well. So they're using them a lot. They know which one to get. Johnny, yeah, a heavy lift helicopter would have been handy for that. Woo, Grey Wolf, that was a lucky one. Grey Wolf, I had a friend that was working on the railroad, and they had what was called a snake. And what that means is the rail came loose, and for some reason it got hung and went up into the car. It bent the rail, and he was in the caboose like when suddenly you hear a bam, and here comes this rail through the wall from one end and out the other. He missed him by about 3 feet. So he said, I was about to take a drink of coffee, and suddenly there was a bam, and when I looked, there was a steel rail going through the room. And it was one piece that just, it finally drug the train to a halt. But talking about going up the britches leg, there's all kinds of stuff like that. Tim Harper, Blackie, do you know of any muzzleloaders that have field swappable locks so you can swap between flint and percussion side locks? The Dixie Gun Works mountain rifle did. I don't think they do anymore. But the Dixie mountain rifle came in percussion and in flint, and all you did was take the lock out, unscrew the percussion, drum, screw in the liner, and put the flint onto it. But you're going to have to hunt. Now, I would contact Dixie and ask them if they still got where you could make that system. But they did have them where you could swap them out because there's guys who want to compete with the same rifle and flintlock and then reconfigure it and compete with it in the open. But that was back in the day. I don't know if they do that anymore. But I own a Dixie Mountain rifle. And at one time, I had both lock sets for it. Yeah, true. You could get a Hawken to do it too. Yeah, Kodak. We're just lucky he went upstream. Exactly. If he went down, I couldn't have helped him. Y'all, excuse me. Sorry. Oh, Gear Boy, I know. But it, like I said, nobody would ever believe it. They'll call it BS. And then I bring up the actual person that was under. Yes, it really happened. No, no, no. You know, I remember back when I was a manager, I had these 4 individuals who had been there when something had happened with me. And the other ones wouldn't believe what had happened. So I pulled all 4 of them to prove, you were there when this happened. The other 3 didn't believe him. No, really. And then I pointed out the others. And I had to get all 4 of them in the same room, for them to finally admit, you mean it really did happen that way? Yes, it did. So it just went, like I said, nobody will ever believe it. Oh, wow. They're now flammable material. Ain't that just lovely? Gary, will the haversack hold a Colt Walker? It'll hold a 3rd model Dragoon. So it should hold a Walker. It might be a touch long, but it should. Shane Lawson, good evening. Will Route, no, I do not have that Rock Island revolver that I had back then. I let it go. I now have the modern 38-200 that they've got. That's that $200 something one. I do have one of them, and I'm very happy with it. It's got the longer barrel, but the short barrel, Bob the Hammer, makes a great self-defense up close one. And but for the full size belt, I've got what they call the Model 200. Donald, hello there. Oh, Grey Wolf, yeah. People just, oh, that can't happen. Really? Okay. I learned don't even argue with them. I was there, you know. Which should I go with in rimfire, long rifle or magnum? If you're looking for survival, long rifle. Far more available ammo, cheaper than mag. If you got a revolver with dual cylinders, even better plus, but 22 long rifle of that. Now, do I prefer the 20 Magnum for many things? Absolutely. If it was survival and I had to take something up to the size of deer, 20 Magnum would be a fantastic gun for that. But as far as a handgun, get the interchangeable cylinders. One of the Rough Riders with dual cylinders is not that expensive, and you can try both of them. How's that dry cough? It's I've got a lot of damage in this lung, and when I had COVID years ago, it I've had pneumonia multiple times, drowned twice, and a bunch of other stuff, and that lung is scarred up badly. And at the junction, I've got pretty significant damage. And when it gets real moist and humid, or when it gets really, really dry air, I start that. It's just old age cough. I wish it was sinuses draining. That I could treat, but it's just it dries out, and it's one of them things. Well, yeah, Gray Wolf, that's true. Hey, you talk about lithium batteries. You see where that ship's on fire not off of Alaska? It was coming from China with all them cars on it, or that part of the world, and was headed, and they had to take the crew off. I saw it on the thing last night that one of the EVs must have burst into flames in the hole, and they just abandoned the whole car carrier. So it all it said is it's off Alaska. It'd be funny if the thing didn't burn all the way down and it came ashore and you could go get you a car. Does the Cordura haversacks hook to the Nighthawk? Yes, they will fit through that loop the same way. On the back of the Nighthawk's that tube, and I made it intentionally so that the Blackbird 1, 2, or 3 will all fit it, and uh, her versions of the Black Hawk and Red Hawk and this new all black one, all of them will fit and lock onto it the same way. I had that in mind whenever I put it together. Oh yeah, Grey Wolf. I had a single six for over 25 years. God, I love that gun. It was as heavy as a bigger gun, you know, and there was somebody that just had to have it. There was a collector, and we'd been friends for a long time. They wanted because it'd been my single six, and I got into a economic tight, so I let it go, and they are still very happy with it. But I like my Rough Rider. Shoots just fine. 22 BB caps. RWS was at some time. I don't know. I haven't bought any in years. Oh, Johnny, that is a great. That H&R 949. I always wanted the 999, the octagonal barrel top. I never could find one in a price that I could afford when I had the money. But I've seen Canterbury going on his hunting and picking, and he picking up all these old H&Rs. I guess they're all up in Ohio and Indiana and northern Kentucky. I guess I need to go up there and take a road trip and go looking. But I've always wanted to get me one of those. Mm. Diamond Ridge, yeah, that Rough Rider 22 mag is nice. Miss Pam, hello to Pam and Mr. Walker and Vern. Good evening. Hope y'all are having a good time. I see y'all getting a bit of rain down there in Florida. Sparrow Bushcraft, good evening. Will, how do you like the Ruger Wrangler? I let mine go, and I'll tell you why. In the center base pin, in the very end of it, there's a little spring plunger. And when it's fully seated, it stands back there, and that's what tensions the transfer bar on it. So when you cock, it pushes it up. It pushes it out to go. You got the end of the firing pin right there. It pushes it out so it goes by it, right? Mine didn't always do it. That you'd shoot a couple times that thing an inch forward just a little, and you'd go to cotton and jam up because the transfer bar would come up and hit the firing pin and not jump over it. It hit it. And I kept pushing it in and pushing it in. And so I finally got frustrated with it and let it go. In fact, I could get it back if one of my blood brother Micah's got it. But I liked the gun. It was accurate, but I didn't like that problem with it. When I went and looked at another brand new one, I thought, well, maybe I got a lemon or whatever. And the same thing with his. I'd go to cock and it'd jam up. And he said, you got to push the base pin all the way in. But the way it locks in, it doesn't lock good, and it can have a little variation. So I didn't want to have to re-engineer the wheel and cut a notch or something to make it lock tighter or something. Dean P., what does it take to be a silver wolf? Just to want to be. We have people that want to be silver wolves. I've had a couple of people in their 20s and 30s because they've got elderly family or whatever, and they want to interact with them. So they came to our classes to learn how better to work with them. So it's just mostly it's about the heart, and mostly about people, my age, got a little silver hair. So whatever age you feel like you want to be part of the Silver Wolves, you're a Silver Wolf. James Singer, I did get my Rogers and Spencer up there in Ohio. Correct. I left the Pathfinder gathering and went down to go get a pizza down the hill at that little town. Me and Trinity did, and we walked into that surplus store, and there was that gun. And I went, dadgummit, and it was a price I could afford. So there went my spare cash for the trip, but I really enjoy it. Andrew, would I be okay with 22 pistol, not the rifle? If you're good and accurate with it. But if you're in a true survival type thing, go for a rifle. Easier to shoot, better operations, greater range. You have to practice less with a handgun, with a rifle, than a handgun to be that accurate at that range. Correct. It doesn't fully disengage that transfer bar. Susan M., good evening. Dean P., you're welcome to be part of it. Just because you got a few strands of gray, that worked. Heck, I had gray hair in high school. West North Carolina, Buck. What part of the country are you from? Alabama. I'm in the Alabama, Georgia, Florida corner, down there at the bottom. Diamond Ridge. No, it's all right. They can, everybody talk. I'm reading along and jumping in. Gray Wolf, I thought about that of tapering the transfer bar or maybe bevel the bottom of the firing pin, where it comes out, give it a little more bevel so it pop by it. But I'm sure they're mass producing these parts. It's meant to be the cheap gun, much cheaper than producing the single six. And they have now brought it out where you can get a magnum cylinder for it. So, I just didn't want to. And taking one apart, I took mine apart one time, and that was all I wanted to play with that one. It was just it is not an intuitive put it together. No Ruger is, Okay. Dean P. No, you don't have to go through a ritual to join. You're fine. Gray Wolf, how's the sight regulation on the Rogers and Spencer? It shoot like the Colts? Actually, it shot a little better. It was not as severely high as you would think. Where I'd say maybe 3 inches high at 25 yards, at least from mine. And so it actually sighted in very well and shot actually better than my Remington. Jeff Alexander, good evening to Maryland. Oh, Jonathan Frisbee, got your book, The Situational Awareness. Cool. Ground Fog, hello there. Oh, Dean Pete, getting your knots together. Cool. Paladin, yeah. It's fun till you do it for real, and then Yeah, Dean, it's a long way from Washington State. We've had people fly from California. I had two that didn't get to come, but they were coming from Australia. So I've been amazed how far people are willing to travel. Joe Cool, awesome. I didn't get a Super Wrangler. I just had the Wrangler, and so if they had had dual cylinders at the time, I may have took the time to figure out how to bevel it and all. Will Rowell, thanks for bringing that up. I can't get on Rumble. I went, and like I told y'all last week, I was going to put my video on the Rumble, and I cannot get into that Rumble account. The email that I had for that account is one of those emails I can't reach anymore. And so I've sent messages to Rumble saying, hey, I put in my password and I know this is the correct password. And you're saying, nope, something went wrong. Try later. Nope, something went wrong. Try later. I tried for 2 days to get on that thing. And I may have to just create a new channel. If it doesn't go, that's what I'm going to have to do. And so I will let y'all know next week. Between now and then, I'll get it done and we'll get it going because I've got the stuff shot. I just, want to be able to put it on. Oh, Mark, you got one of the bounty hunters in Germany. Yeah. Paul, hello to Brisbane. Paladin, Blackie, is there anything particular to watch out for with the Heritage Arms 22? Not thus far. I mean, mine have been fairly well smoothed out and everything. Of course, I took them apart and cleaned them up, but they weren't rough right out of the box. And mine shot and acted really well. And I've swapped cylinders several times and carried it camping a couple of times. So it does work very well. Dean P, well, thank you very much. True, Kodak. The Colt design is easier to work on. The Ruger is supposed to not need as much maintenance, and that I'll give them. But I would never attempt to take apart a Ruger in the field unless it was dire straits. I will blow my Colts apart under a tarp in a pouring rain into my hat and put the gun back together, and clean it and put it back together. But as far as a Ruger, too many small parts you got to push into here and there and there. Never do that. Will, you say you'd like Ruger to produce a 38 Special Single 6. The biggest one I've ever heard of was Hank Williams Jr. and Mike Ventrino had a gun shop called Deadly Nostalgia that was up there in Montana. And they took a single 6 and bored it out as big as it could go. And what he ended up with was a 5-shot cylinder 41 special, which was they bored the barrel out to 41 and then they cut down 44 Magnum brass to a shorter length and put the bullet in it and made a cylinder so it was a 5-shot 41 special. It's the biggest bore I've ever heard put into that frame. But yeah, Uberti makes about that size of gun, but it's in 38 special. And they do make them. They do pop up from time to time. I've held one in my hand. They're $600. But man, it's just the perfect size. If you remember the old Colt double action Lightning, it's about that size. It's a smaller. It's the size of the Ruger 6, but it's in 38 special. And I've had one in my hand twice and just didn't have the money to do it. But dang, I always like to be the perfect little slim, handy little 38 to carry. That'd be really nice. Jerry, didn't realize how long I've been following. I know. I've got people that have told me they've been here from the beginning. I said, all the way from 2008. Yep, I started watching you in 2008. Okay. The a year or so ago, I got a comment on one of my videos that said, you are the most redneck, hilarious idiot we have ever heard. And that they were on the team that was wintering over at McMurdo and Antarctica. And they said, we put your videos up on the big screen and everybody has a good laugh. I went, cool. And so my next live said, hello to McMurdo, you know. And, but they followed me for a while. They loved to hear my accent and hear me talk. And they said it was just hilarious to hear me talk. But all of them are somebody, usually intellectuals and stuff, scientists or whatever. So they get a kick out of it, I guess. Do you recommend dude whites or something similar for a field expedient hygiene? Go to the drugstore and look for Clean Life, No Rinse bathing wipes. These are for what, you know, they're bigger than the average size or thicker, and it's really meant for people who are invalids and are stuck in a bed all the time. Nice, big, heavy, and it does a really good job. It dries. You can do your hair, do the face, anything. But it's really meant for people that are disabled. You know, a caretaker take care of them. But I've started using them, and they're a whole lot cheaper. And these are a good size to just slide into the pack. But you know, I get those. And a little trick I'll tell you while I'm thinking about it. They have a sell date, just like anything else. Don't mean it goes bad. It don't. It just they got a sell date. So when you go into a place, look and see if there's oldest date, and then go up the counter and go, this is about to go out of date. Can I get a discount on it? You might be able to get a discount on it, because I end up buying like 10 packages of them for like $2 off because they were about to go out of date. Like, this goes bad while we're doing this. They don't wear a hole in the middle of them or nothing, and it's got a good smell. Do your hair, do whatever. Works really, really well. Blackie, what do you think of a Derringer and 410-45 Colt for trapping? Ooh. Okay. Gary, what are you trapping? Because if you're going for fur, that's way too big a hole. You're going to blow way too big a hole in that animal. You want a 22 short. You want a short 22 short single action or bolt action rifle that you can stick the barrel up just about that far away and go, you know, so you're out of reach where he can't bite you, but you can go, and it's a nice clean little hole. You don't damage the fur that much. But a 45 or a 45, 410 is going to blow a great big old hole, and you're not going to get your fur money out of it. Plus, it makes a mess. And Derringers with those are great for shooting snakes or something right there outside the boat. They're not what I would pick for shooting an animal up close because they're not that accurate. So, if you're talking about trapping, you need a 22. If you're talking about, you know, snake charmer or whatever, yeah, they work fine for that, but not for trapping. That's just my 2 cents worth. What do you think of the 32 Smith & Wesson Long? I have a model 1905. The 32 Smith & Wesson Long, which is a really good small game gun, and in its day was a decent up-close, get-off-me personal defense weapon back in the days before they had penicillin. So they were really well liked. If you hand load for it, now you can still get that cartridge a lot because some of it's being still used in cowboy action. But I'd recommend hand loading it. And it can be a decent little, small game gun, things like that. All right, let me catch back up. Yeah, Dean P. Exactly. You just want something basic to do it, and that's what these are for. There's a little bit of a, not really a moisturizer, but there's something in it that when you put it on your skin, it dries. It doesn't leave you tacky or whatever, but it does moisturize your skin. Because remember, it's meant for people who are invalids and stuff like that, and you're trying to change grandma's diaper and etc. because she's in such a bad way. So it's one of the things that it's designed to handle just about anything, especially when you got to wipe the nether regions and keep the salt off of you and etc. when you're sweating. That's what I started using. Been using it for about 2 years now, and I've been a lot. I'm more pleased with it than I was with the dude wipes because for that I was just going and getting the baby wipes. You get those big stacks of them for cheap, like $4 for 2 packages or something. And I use them, but they were so thin and they just dry like that. These are big and thick. You can get like half a body with them, and so it works out a lot better to me, and it's not so expensive. Lonnie, yes, you can still buy 22 shorts. They are available. You're just going to have to look for them. Try this source. Look online for Mid South Shooter Supply. Okay, not Midway, Mid South Shooter Supply. I've got percussion caps and several other things from there in the past. And if you got somebody in a local gun store or something like that, go ask them, can you order them? And see if they can get them in. When I worked at Walmart, when we ran sporting goods, we could order stuff like that. I don't know if that's true anymore. And it's whether or not, they'll do it. What do you think about the father and daughter incident at Caden? That's still in question. Where's she at? Um, did some sort of weather come up? Did something cause them to split up? Did he fall and she didn't come down? What is it? Is there something nefarious there? I don't know. I don't have enough information to give you an in depth, but it is kind of odd they found him. They didn't find her. She's the younger one. She's the healthier one. If he had fallen to his death, she should be the one looking for help to get out. I don't know if she has mental issues or whatever. They ain't said nothing that I've heard. So I don't know. We shall see. Oh yeah, Will, the old break top 38s, that was the defense gun up until like the after World War II. That little short 38 or the 32 or the 33, those little bitty pocket guns like that and those little top breaks, that was the gun for self defense. And I can remember going into old Joe C. Jones pawn shop, and it was just a shelf of like 32, 32 long, 32 Smith and Wesson, 32 Colt. There's like 8 or 9 different little bitty old short 38s and 32s. You know, 38 short, 38 at Colt, 38 S&W, 38 at Special, 38, 38 40. It was the caliber. Yes, Miss Pam. Ruger, not Roger. That is true. I hadn't thought about that. The 327, then 32, and then the 32 short. Yeah, that would be a really good little, wouldn't it? Oh, Jerry, I didn't know they'd found her and she was passed away. No, it's not a drill instructor. It's actually a Boy Scout T-shirt from my days as a Boy Scout shooting sports director. The back of it says "Character Counts," and that's Baden Powell of Boy Scouts. Gary, good night. Thanks for dropping in. Good night, Justin. Say hello to Pink for me. James Singer, mention a rifle to each pistol. Good sound device, especially if you're living kind of out. You can more focus on one kind of ammo. And the best by far is to have a lever action 357 and then a 357 handgun, because that way I can shoot stock 38. I can take a 38 special case, put a little bit of powder, little bitty round ball out of a mold in it, and the ball will leave the barrel of that rifle around 1,000 feet per second, and I can shoot rabbits and squirrels with it. If I drop a standard 38 special into it, what comes out the barrel, because it's 300 to 500 feet per second added because of it locked chamber and all like that, longer barrel, more burn time, I get equivalent of a 357 handgun. If I put a 357 in the rifle, what comes out duplicates 30-30, all in one little bitty light gun. And so it really does, to me, that's the best combo, is a 357 handgun, because I can shoot 38s and all the above in it. And then the 38, the 357 rifle, because I can shoot all the 38 handgun ammo in it as well. So yeah, even 38 auto. There was a guy on that was showing a thing not long ago that in some guns you can shoot 38 auto in it. So that was pretty cool. Joe Cool, you are correct. What got me out of it? When I became part of Boy Scouts in the 90s, I told them, and Grouch is the one that got me in it. I started going to events and doing historical events with them and teaching scouts. And I told them, I'm here for the scouts. I don't give a rat's butt about politics. I'm here for the kids. So don't start talking about who's daddy, whatever, and let's see if we can get more. I'm not interested. And then I was the shooting sports director at the camp for quite a few years. And at the end of camp, they were putting on a field clays shoot, and they asked me would I set that up, and I said sure. So we reloaded all the ammunition, set it all up. They were charging, I think, $100 a head to bring these people in and let them shoot field clays after the summer camp was over as a way to raise money. And we had done it. I think this was the third year. Yeah, third year. And the big guy that was head of our area, um, we had a troop that was going out because all their kids had graduated and they just didn't have nothing. And I found out about it, and I went to him and I said, look, I don't know what all this money, because I knew how many people we were running through. Okay. When you're running 200 to 300 people through and they're charging $100 a head, yeah, that's a little money. I said, I don't know what all this money is allocated for, but look, this troop over here, all they've got is these new kids. The senior scoutmaster is left. They don't even have uniforms. They don't have nothing. Can we shake loose just enough money to get a couple of T-shirts or something for the kids, and maybe a couple of the merit badge manuals for them? Keep this troop going. Keep these kids going. And he looked right at me and said, "Oh no, we're using the money to buy a new Suburban for the scout hut." We're doing what? We're going to use the money to buy a Suburban for the scout hut. Now, this guy that I'm telling you about here got paid $120,000 a year by BSA and we're buying him a new SUV. I walked then, and just that was the end of it. All this effort, and you're just buying you a car. Yeah, I'm here for the kids. Gray Wolf, you got your 92 and 307. Those are decent. No, Will, I hadn't heard that one. Yes, I did, Paul. The fall of Constantinople and last Thursday was the thing. That's the reason it was fresh in my mind. Good night, John. Thanks for tuning in, brother. Yep, Tiananmen Massacre. 36 years ago. Hard to believe. Time goes by, doesn't it? Yep. Talking about time minute. Let me tell you something here that's odd to me. The other day I ran into one of my school teachers. I'm in my 60s. Okay. This was a grown woman that was my high school science teacher when I was in high school. I didn't think she was just a couple of days older than me. I mean, come on. I was like 17, and she's only 11 years older than me. So she was 28, which I thought was old, back then. But here I am running into her, and I said, well, how you doing? I'm shocked she's still alive. I'm in my 60s. And she said, no, I turned 80 whatever. And like, you just don't mentally connect the two, from child to adult. It's like, what are you still doing walking around? I'm old now. What are you doing walking around? So it's amazing how time goes by. Will, Blackie's going to hit 100,000. Fingers crossed. I'm trying to do it this summer. Sasquatch, good evening. Wade, what do you think about carrying an AR-7 for float trips? AR-7s, my experience with them, I've had like 3 or 4 over the years. They wear out quickly. It was the design, the way it runs in that aluminum receiver and everything is nice and light and everything, but they gall and they wear out where they want to jam up. So, yes, it works well for a true emergency gun. But if you're looking for a light and handy gun to carry, stuff like that, they make other stuff. The AR-7 is not a bad choice, but realize if you shoot it a lot, it will wear out. The inside of the frame actually wears because it's a soft aluminum to be so light. And everyone I ever had, you didn't shoot long before it got to where it jammed a lot because of it. And like 1,000 rounds or less. So for put in there, never use it, only need it, use it when I need it. Yeah, works great. But I want to take it for plinking and having fun with it. You'd be better served with something else. Really would. Earl, hello to Syracuse, New York. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, James. Did you ever get a play button from YouTube? Not yet, Jerry. You're supposed to be over 100,000. It's 100,000, and then I think it's 1 million. And so I haven't got my little award yet. We'll see. Piece of plastic with it. I could probably print one out and make my own. There was one guy that they sent him a 100,000 one, and it was just, he took it apart and showed you it's just cheap little vacuum molded plastic, and so he made his own from the ground up, made it a whole lot better. So Yeah, Joe Cool, the M6 Scout, I think is a better choice of the two. It being single shot on either one, better caliber choices, and etc. And you can, I am not saying this, okay? I am not saying this, but there's like 35 different calibers that can drop into a 410 and go bang. 30-30, 303 Brit, all kinds of things can physically drop into a 410 chamber and go bang. And if you go look at Iraqi veteran 8888, they were trying to blow up a 410, and he was putting 454 Kasul, all kinds of stuff in a cheap Rossi 410 full choke. And it was amazing what all they figured out is like 35 different calibers you could one way or another make it drop in and go bang. So for a true survival gun where you got to scavenge, a 410 is not a bad idea. Oh, Mark, cool. Mitchell, Blackie, have you ever had turtle soup? Yes, I have, quite a few times. We were poor, and if it walked, crawled, or flies, I have probably ingested it at some point in my life. Didn't mean you had to like it, but it's what's for dinner, you know. And I have eaten turtle soup, 4 different kinds of meat on a turtle, you know. Now, having said that, I don't go out of my way. I understand it in a survival situation, absolutely, but I don't care for turtle, you know. And just which the turtles that I had were out of the river, and they were bottom feeding off of some of the nastiest stuff there was. So I may have not had good turtle, but you know what I mean. Well, yeah, I know H&R. No, excuse me, not H&R. Thompson Center is coming back online. They're coming back into business, and they're going to be making the contender type things again. And I know Rossi had it was a 22 20 gauge 243, and the 4 barrel one was a 22 243 12 gauge 20 gauge, all locked onto the same receiver. You sell them at Walmart for like $150, and that if you look around for those, you can get some of them and do it. And Dan Lutz, sadly, he never got to shoot it. He had contracted somebody and had bought a 44 Magnum barrel to go onto an H&R single shot. He got him to do a handy rifle like barrel for him. And I was there visiting when that barrel came in because they had just made it legal that year in Ohio to use a straight wall pistol cartridge to hunt with. And he was going to hunt with a 44 Magnum out of a single shot H&R. And then he died before he got the chance. But I know there are people out there that make such stuff, but you're going to have to hunt probably. Lonnie, being retired now, do you have a bucket list? And if you do, what kinds of things do you want to do? I've had a very full life. And the things that I really value now are stupid little things like sound of a child's laughter, a moonrise on a quiet lake, winds in the pine trees, sunrise on a listen to a turkey gobble, things like that. And me and Dan had talked about going to Alaska. I had thought about it. It had been a lifelong goal. I wanted to go to Alaska. Never got the chance to. Not saying I won't ever, but it's looking like I ain't never going to make it. So I don't know. There's little things I'd like to do, but I have checked a long list off in my life of things I wanted. I have done just about everything I ever wanted to accomplish, and so therefore I'm pretty content. I have talked to presidents and kings, princes. I have known, you know, federal judges, Supreme Court justices. I have been friends with some very powerful people in my life, and some good old boys that you wouldn't recognize the name, but they were just the saints of the earth. I have lived a good life. So I'm just coasting through and enjoying life. Charles Martin, doing good, brother. Jim Survival, hello there. Mitchell, you've had sea turtle. I never ate a sea turtle. T-Board, doing pretty good. Yep, Kodak for the YouTube overlords crackdown. Yeah, and H&R is gone, but they brought them back, or at least the name back, but they're making ARs now. So it tells me that somebody just bought the name. It's not H&R, but now Henry now makes single shots. So have you ever been to Kings Mountain? Yes, I have. And I know the history of Kings Mountain. Oh, yeah. Not even God could get him off Kings Mountain. And when they got it to the top, he never got off that mountain either. Yep. Lonnie, glad to do it. T-Board, do not own a pair of Iron Rangers. Ten pair, smart move. We used to do that with cats sometimes because, especially at certain times of the year, um, there are a lot of stuff in the rivers. And so we would put catfish into barrels or stock pens, and cats that swim around, they'll go up there and feed them and clean them out, and then before we harvest them, tasted a lot better. Lee, good evening. Oh, I hadn't heard that Palmetto had possibly bought H&R. I hadn't heard that. Yep. Yeah, they don't taste like mud. That's true. Because once you clean them out, yeah, we would age deer meat, especially if they've been run a lot because they had so much adrenaline in them. We'd age deer meat about a week in freezer before we'd ever cook it. Um, there's a lot of stuff, we get possums or stuff and keep them live in a pen and feed them for a couple of days to clean them out, especially if there were a lot of carrion. They've been feeding on the dead hog or the dead cow at the end of the field, and we caught them. We'd always clean them out before we ever harvested them, things like that. Terry, Blackie's memoirs. Oh, no, 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 no. No, no. There's too many secrets in that tome. Too many stories of that began with "there I was." Besides, everybody is a lot of the people that's in that thing are grandfathers and grandmothers now, and probably would not be so happy to go down memory lane and remember those days. Had a friend of mine had a teenage son, and we were talking, and he had been kind of a wild child, and me and him were running together, young men, and he had now cleaned up, straightened up, and now his teenage son's getting to that age that he wants to be a little bit wild. And he was telling him, that he was never that way and all like that. And I'm looking across the table at him like, you lying dog. And finally, he just got too deep. And I said, really? How about the night that we drove through the Wendy's drive-in with you in the back, sitting in the back of the truck, beating on the big old toolbox, singing Born to Be Wild at the top of your lungs because you done ran out of beer and I had to go get munchies because you were hungry. Remember that? And of course, the son went, really? Tell me about this. And Dad went, oh, no. I would rather say, son, I was there, I did the stupid stuff, and it's not worth your time, than lie and say, oh, no, I never did that. Bull. I know where the bodies is buried. You ain't going to do that. Not around me. Uncle Blackie to a lot of friends' kids. Uncle Blackie, tell me about that. No. You don't need to know that, son. Gray Wolf, yeah, it's true. If it runs a long way, it's going to taste bad. That's the adrenaline in it. Yeah, correct. That they would corral the hogs and feed them for a couple days to clean them out, especially if they'd been eating a lot of acorns, because the tannin, they'd clean them out a little bit. Wade, correct. We'd take the long gotcha vines, wouldn't need a hook. We'd just take all that, twist two or three of them together and run them up into a hollow tree and do it like that and turn up. And you'd tangle up in coons and possums and squirrels up inside of hollow trees and you'd pull them out. I pulled out several that way. Lee H, yeah. Oh, yeah. Alias, yeah. Sasquatch. I don't know. I know one wind's got several different bugs that could be used for that, and some is just a bug net zips up. It's got a bottom in it and everything. That might be what you're looking for. I've made bug nets in the past. Go getting an old surplus U.S. Army mosquito net and cutting it to shape, and fixing it myself to where I could stake it to the ground. I've done that, but other than that, I don't really know what to tell you. John Loudermilk, I basically put it aside for right now, working on that book. I've got parts of most of it done. I've got it all worked out, but it's just I ain't got the time to really put that much effort in it, to be honest. Joe Cool, I had thought about it and thought about it. And like I said, I definitely have got the information to do a bushcraft type book. But when I put out my Master Woodsman series, that was basically the information. I just shot it as a video and I was going to transcribe that. And that's what I did. I transcribed it all over and then I put it through a word processor and I started adding pictures and everything else. I don't know. You know, I've got way too many irons in the fire. So, Kevin Estella. No, I don't know who that is, Wade. Satchmo, hello. Terry, names and places can be changed to protect the incident. My name is Friday. I carry a badge. Yeah. Oh, cool. Fried bologna sandwiches. Those are good. John Latimer, yeah, maybe during the summer heat, I've got a lot of projects I need to do. I'm finally going to do that sewing video on making the Nomad haversack. I kept putting it off because things just kept popping up and I had to take care of. But now that what I'm doing is I'm getting up early in the morning and doing my video or two or three videos. And then I'm working on projects in the house or whatever. I'm about to have a new roof put on my home here pretty soon. So I'm getting ready for that. And like I said, I worked today on the redneck camper. I have now got the back latch working so you can actually lock it. I hadn't been able to lock it since '92 when it got broken into. And and I've got other little minor things. I've got a nice long list of minor little projects. And I stay busy, keep going, but during the heat of the day, I'm going to be doing something inside. I did I got fixed the latch. I got the spare tire more permanently secured in the back of the redneck camper. I did a trigger job on a Smith and Wesson. I did a uh, answered 200 comments, literally 200, and went and mailed the last of the May/June run went out today, and that's because I was waiting on the Nighthawks. The Nighthawks came in yesterday, so I finished them up and sent them out. So all of those are gone. So now all we got still coming. We got the July run that will be coming at the end of the month, and then I'm taking orders now for the August run. So I'm doing that as well. But like I'm getting up at 6, and I'm not stopping till about 10 or 11 at night. And I've never worked so much on retirement. Cooking videos, we shall see. I got a list of cooking videos I want to do. I want to pan sear a steak in that carbon steel skillet. I want to try something. It's an old memory, and I'm trying to see if I can remember exactly how I did it. But you remember I've showed where I've got an ammo can and I've got 10 matchlight briquettes in a paper bag that where you can just open it and pull them out and set it on fire, and poof, you've got 10 charcoal briquettes ready to go. What I want to do is take a Dutch oven and do biscuits that way. And what it is, you'll take it out, put it down, set it on fire, set the Dutch oven on top of it, let it be heating up while you make up the biscuit. And then by the time you get done making up the biscuits, the Dutch is good and hot, and you set it off of it. Now the bottom is good and hot. You lift the lid, you put your oil, you put your butter in the bottom, you set the biscuits in, they should sizzle just a little bit, and then put the lid on and transfer the coals to the top and be able to do it. If it works out the way I think I did it at one point way back then, I remember a very cold, wet, rainy day I did this trick and it worked. If I can do it again on camera, it'd be a cool way to, you can make biscuits in the morning nice and easy without a lot of muss and fuss. But that we shall see, again. And then me and Bear's got stuff going. I did old ways with him, and I will be posting that old ways that we just put on his channel. I'll be posting it Saturday onto mine to try to drum up some support for his channel, because we're trying to get he's got like 2,000 followers, and we're trying to get his following up. Jeff, good night. William, do you have any idea when the Smoky Knife works? It's sometime in September, I think. Uh, and I had spoken with Dave and them. If Dave and them were going, me going up and hanging out with them at it, we shall see. That's still kind of, we're 16 weeks away from cool temperatures, and so if I'll be going up there, I'll let everybody know. Ellis, oh yeah, retired just means you're not working for somebody else. Now you're working for you. Oh yeah, Wade. And that's the thing about making a peach cobbler and a Dutch. It's just especially when you sit it up there and everybody, feed the whole camp. We used to scoop one scoop of ice cream and then put a big ladle of peach cobbler on top of it, hand it out. Oh yeah, good stuff. A break from retirement. What's that? A nap. Do sausage gravy for the biscuits. Good idea. How far are you from 100,000, Blackie? A little over 1,000. And I'm getting somewhere 300 to 500 per month. So probably by August, I should break 100,000. Oh, you love your nighthawk. Any tips to keep the sparrowhawk and weehawk from flopping around? What I do is I put it at a diagonal, put the clip on it at a diagonal, and that seems to hold it in there fairly well. Now, I understand if it's roly, roly, roly. What I did one time I was carrying it, and it was that way. The thing I had in it was heavy, and it wanted to shift forward back. I just ran me a piece of paracord all the way around and one quick cinch and just held it in one place, and that stopped it right there like that. So you might want to do that just on the outside of it all the way around. You won't feel it on your back. That cord will be fine, but it'll just keep them from wanting to go forward and back if what you're carrying does that. Usually I pack mine so tight that they don't move much. Never mind. No problem, Charles. Retirement's great. Don't pay as well, though. That's true. Buck 112. Good evening to Rome, Georgia. Paul, will you be at the gather thing? I may be. I may be coming up to support um, the guys up there, dadgummit. Jay and them. For some reason, I'm having a gray moment, guys. Just hang on. But me and Mike Simmons have talked about possibly riding up there or going up to the gather thing. So we shall see. If it works out that I'm going to be able to do it, I will let everybody know I'm coming. Wade, how can I get a hold of you? Go look in the description box where I say to go do the haversacks at scalphunter36330 at yahoo.com. Send me an email there. That's the easiest way. I normally check that every day when I'm having a run. Like I'll be checking it every day between now and Sunday. And then I'll check it again up till about the middle of the week. And then I'll check it at least every couple of days after that. But just go on there and we can work out something. Oh, how about refillables, Mitchell? They work well. I used to have a thing that would screw onto the big barbecue tank, and then you turn the tank upside down because you want the liquid, you don't want the gas. And then you would screw in the green tank, the small propane tank. and it would pressurize to equal. And then once it got equalized, you just unscrewed the propane tank, and you could refill quite a few of the small 1-pounders from that big old barbecue grill one. And Walmart sold that adapter that you could just screw in. It was in sporting goods, and you could just refill your tanks. And it was great if you're going out and you've got like buddy heaters and stuff like that take the small tank. They were just simply more convenient than hauling around that big heavy tank. You don't need that kind of longevity. And so what I was using it for was running on a buddy heater for hunting camps and stuff like that. And that little small thing charged right up. Wade, okay. Sure, Wade. Down in the description box of this video, you will find I put, if you want to order a haversack, go to scouthunter36330 at yahoo.com. Email me there. Thanks, Eric. Yeah, Gray Wolf, and it's technically illegal. The FBI did a study back in the early 2000s and says that the average American is guilty of at least, on average, 600 crimes at any given time. If you've ever thrown away a battery into the garbage, you've committed a federal crime, because it's by law you must recycle them. You cannot throw them in the garbage. If you ever threw a fluorescent bulb away or broke it intentionally rather than recycle it, you have violated. There's 600. The average person is guilty of around 600 something offenses. Just if you dig deep enough, there's got to be a crime. So can you look at the tank and tell it's been manually refilled? Nope. So therefore, prove to me what I did. Oh no, Jim survived. That campground where the gather thing was destroyed. I knew it was up in that neck of the woods because I recognized the route up there got just hammered. Wade, do you ever use radios when you're on a float trip or hiking? I have not in many years, but we did do that in the past before the days of cell phones. We would use radios when we were doing river trips and stuff like that. Tibor, exactly. That's a big investment. And I haven't ever had Red Wings. But back in the 90s, I had a pair of Timberlands that I had them resold 4 times. I loved them boots. And when they finally gave up the ghost and could not be resold again, and I went and looked, and I couldn't find, they changed and wasn't making that model anymore. But at the time I had bought them, they were about 3 times more expensive than any boot I'd ever had, but it was worth it. So. Jim, 1858 Remington, which manufacturer would you recommend? At this time, I would say Pieta. Pieta and Remington are good. In the last couple of years, in my opinion, you birdies kind of slipped a little. I would go for the Pieta. Yeah. Charles Martin. I want to get one of those little solar powered rechargeable crank radios with a flashlight. I know that Sportsman's Guide quite often sells a version of that and can be pretty handy. Christopher, yeah, morphine and cocaine. You could walk into any drugstore up to the 1940s and say, I need a pick me up, and they would sell you across the counter cocaine. Um, we think that the drug problem is a new thing. It ain't. The reason they had to create the FDA was because of so much patent medicine that was nothing but heroin under another name, codeine or heroin. That's all it is. And so they were all these manufacturers. This will fix your liver, this will whatever. And the active ingredient was always the same thing. Great grandma and grandpa were high as a kite, you know. And then during the 1950s up to the 60s, Valium. You know, women come in, I don't feel good. They gave them Valium. I mean, it is not anything new. It really isn't. I remember reading a thing that the guy that he collects the small bottles, and it was marketed for women to give babies for teething. And it was a paste of heroin. And you were to rub it on the gums of a teething baby, and so they would become very calm and peaceful. Serious. I mean, it was that common back in them days. Tim Pierce, yep, the rat. That's what I wear mostly is the desert rat ones, Marine Corps issue. I got my desert rats from the surplus place. They were 60 bucks a set. I got size 10 from them, and they were brand new in the box. And they were 60 bucks a set. When I took Dan Lutz down there, and he had like a 15 extra wide was his foot, and they said we got up to 17s, and so he bought 3 pair of boots. He was always having to custom order his, and here they had them sitting there on the shelf for like 60 bucks. Oh yeah, Rodney, Smith and Wesson Model 10 and 3220, great little small game gun. The 3220 does what the 22 Magnum does today, so you could think of it in that line. The 3220 in a rifle was absolutely adequate for killing deer up to a whitetail size, like the great big goat, Shetland pony size animals. 3220 was a very good caliber for that and shot and did very well. And in a handgun, they did very good, but it was just like today we think of like a 380, 3220. That's the mindset. See? James, Grandpa just used whiskey on us. That's what bones aching, whiskey, teeth and pain, a little whiskey and a little bit of sugar, sore throat, orange juice, whiskey, make a screwdriver, a little bit of brown sugar in it. I mean, we survived. Pervidine, I forgot about that name. Diamond Ridge, Blackie, what do you think about the Buck 840 folding pocket knife? I'm sorry, I don't know what that one is. I'm not familiar with it, so I'm not going to BS you and tell you, oh yeah, I'll be honest, I don't recognize it. Jeff Conley, yeah, if you can come down, we'll be doing, well, even if you don't have to wait, Jeff, call the ladies. I put the number down there. It's a military surplus. Call the ladies and tell them that I sent you, and ask them if they got a set of those desert rats in like 15. And I bet you they will, or have you something, because that's the thing. See, the military gets a block, and they go from this size to this size. And then whenever they decide to phase that out and get another set, the 8s, the 7, 8s, 9s are the first thing gone. So those 14, 15s, they always there. And those 5, 6s, I have seen get this, a size 2, a 2 Marine Corps issue boot. Now, how would you ever make the height requirement if you wear a 2? But that was an issue size. So they went from 2 all the way to like 17. Yes, for the kids. I mean, PX could sell it or something. But yeah, just contact them and say, I need you to, like you said, you got big boots and I'm hunting size 15, B or wide or whatever, and ask them and let them tell you what they got. William Moffitt, good night. Thanks for tuning in. Random Adventures, hey, good evening. Rodney, I know at one time Birdie was making, you could get the Model 73 in a 3220. Look at Dixie Gun Works. They may still have some in 3220 lever actions. Hector, good evening. Yes, Gray Wolf. Blackie, do you ever set up your hammock in or around your redneck camper to use it for a support vehicle? Yeah, do that several times. My entire hammock camp, hot tent and all, goes into this big blue barrel, 30-gallon barrel I got with a snap ring lid on it. That just goes in the back of the truck. And so I can pull that out and set up my full camp. The hot tent, my one-wind hot tent, the Penumbra, is like 14 feet from end to end. And when you've got it fully closed up, it's 8 feet across inside. So I used it this past gathering. I put an army cot crossways in it and still had room at my head and my feet. Gives you an idea how wide it is. And then I had my truck right next door. So my truck had all my food, all my clothes, everything, saved space in the tent, see. And so quite often I'll use them together as an operation type deal. Hector, I think they were saying they had some coming in from Self-Reliance this month. I'm sure just go check the website. They'll post them. But there should be another batch coming in because they sold out that first batch pretty quick. Oh, cool. Yeah, Hector, that's the correct one. Will, can you do an 1860 Henry video? Once I either get a response from the Rumble people or I just start a new channel, I will do a Henry because I've got an old iron frame Henry in 4440 that I've had since 84, I think. It was one of the very first ones ever brought in the country. It's got a 3-digit serial number, under 400. Oh, my mic is popping. I'm sorry. Let me jiggle my connection. See if that helps. Steve Carroll, thank you very much. I'm glad you enjoy my videos. Oh, Gray Wolf, you're asking, do you tie off to the truck? No, I don't. Down here in my south, I got trees everywhere. I don't have to tie off to the truck. Could I? Yeah, I could. But because I've got my top rack is anchored solidly into the frame of the camper top, and then that's anchored solidly to the truck. So I could, if I wanted to, like to pull into a parking lot and hook from the truck to a pole. I could probably rig a way to do it. Gearboy Forge, we're glad I could help you. Dave Wright, looking forward to camp cooking videos. There's more coming. If I get up and go out early in the morning before it gets hot, and that's the thing, it's a health issue. I'm not regulating body heat as well as I should, and which I'm very blessed and very thankful to God that I'm as good as I am. But I'm very susceptible to heat exhaustion, heat stroke now. I'm not, my body isn't regulating well. So I do sweat. That was a big question, if I could even sweat. But I get hot real easy. And what the doctor has suggested I do is take it really easy this summer, give the body a little chance to kind of relearn. And for whatever you do, do not get heat stroke and don't get heat exhaustion, because that could really be bad on me. So I'm going out in the mornings. I'm doing my videos. I'm doing my anything that make me hot, and then about 10 o'clock, I'm coming back in, get back in the AC, and then doing other chores. So see if I can do some cooking videos in the morning. Might be a lot of breakfast being cooked. We shall see. Oh, yeah, Charles Martin, you have an electric bike, got to have a license to drive them up there. Down here, we don't, which I'm very happy with. Tibor, I have not tried the Pathfinder sleep pad, and I've seen one, but I haven't held it. You know what I mean? Haven't sat there and laid on it or anything, so I can't really talk to it. Yeah, Gray Wolf, you could add hard point, especially if you got a full size truck. It's easier, and you can do it. I've seen several adapted to make it work really well. Blue Bandit, want more cooking videos for ideas? Okay. And I'll bug Bear and get Bear. Bear's been saying he wants to cook this, wants to cook that. I said, well, what's holding you up? You got a camera now. Get to cooking, boy. You're retired now. Yeah, wait, I've seen those. And boat hitch, you can get the boat hitch one that allows you to hang the bars, but they're a little short. I know Dave had one that you had the bars coming out and you can hook the hammock on it, but it really needs to be about that much longer. And so you hook it and it's just a little, I think they measured it to be, it's 11 foot, so they made the bars 11 feet, but they really need to be like 11 and a half feet. And, but Mike Simmons has got one that hooks on the back of his little bitty Jeep and he sleeps off of it. And I could put a box hitch on the back of my truck and put that kind of up there and free hang my hammock. To be honest, I'd rather put a box hitch on the front from underneath, so you just slide the bar in, click and put the two things in, and then leave the back open to be able to use gear and everything in and out, because once you put it on the back of the tailgate, you kind of have to always work around it. It's always in the way. So I thought, put the thing on the front, or could I come out and go 90 degrees, and have a post that sat on the ground, and then have the two winches and then two ground straps to lock it down. Get the screw augers like you screw a dog in with, and anchor to that to keep it from wanting to do that, and just do it that way. I don't know. I might get creative and bug some people I know that can weld. We'll see. Dave, when you go taking people out to camp, what is your go-to menu for people? It depends on the size and everything. Spaghetti is real quick and easy to make out there. You can bring frozen, uh, sauce and all from the house. Just make the noodles, combine the two good. Immersion heating. Hot dogs, hamburgers, beans, no brainer. As far as Dutch oven cooking and stuff like that, a whole big pot of Dutch oven chicken breasts in cream and mushroom sauce, and then another Dutch oven doing some sort of rice dish to go with it is normally pretty good and easy. You know, a really good book is, wait one. Okay. Camp Cookery for Small Groups, and it is Walrath. You can get them off of, I got this one off of eBay. It's an original Boy Scout book, but it's got tons of recipes in here. Dutch ovens and cooking out of bush pots, reflector ovens. It explains in depth how to do them. And this was made back in the kind of like the 50s and so for people who are becoming scoutmasters, and they got to feed all these kids and they don't know what they're doing. See? And so it is easy to convert this over to a 1 or 2 person deal, but it's a very good thing to start with. And so I've recommended this again. That's that guy's name right there. Let me get it where it's not. Walrats. Camp Cookery for Small Groups. I understand they have made reprints of this, and I got this one off of Amazon or eBay a couple of years ago. Very good. So, well, guys, that's 2 hours. We went longer than usual tonight. Chris P., howdy. Well, guys, Jonathan Frisbee, brother, hug, love you, get better, brother. Looking forward to sharing the camp with you this fall. Y'all have a great night. I'm going to sign it off right here. I will be back on next Thursday night unless something comes up, and if it does, I'll try to throw you a message out there. I am taking orders right now for haversacks and stuff. Down there in the description, like it says, if you want to do a haversack, go to that scalphunter36330 @yahoo.com. Send me an email there. I'll send you a price list. This run goes from now until Sunday night. That'd be the cutoff point. And these will be delivering in August. All the stuff for the May run is out and gone. It's en route to you right now. And the June run is out and en route to you right now. So the next thing to ship out will be July, and the run we're taking orders for right now will be August. Guys, have a good night. God bless, and thank y'all very much for tuning in. See you next time, guys. Safe journeys.